Why am I spending so much time on that? Did you hear all this? The Holy Spirit is the one that is the down payment, the sealing one. He is the agent of redemption. He is the agent of regeneration. How are we supposed to handle that? Well, look at this. Beware of ever grieving the Holy Spirit of God. Now, let's look at Ephesians 4:30. Remember, the people getting this letter had the book of Ephesians, and they knew what it says in chapter 4, verse 30. And do not grieve. Present, active. Okay? Present, active, imperative. Do not grieve the Holy Spirit of God, by whom you are sealed for the day of redemption. Beware of ever grieving the Holy Spirit. Why? Well, let me ask you, why do some believers not feel like getting into the Bible? When Bonnie and I were newlyweds, we moved to California, started working at Grace Community Church. After, Johnny was born in 1985, and we were married in 83. So after, about a year and a half, we had this beautiful little boy, and we were scared to death. You come home from the hospital, and they're so fragile, and they're all wrapped up in that blanket. You don't want to unwrap them because you don't know what to do. It's scary, and you have this baby, and you've never had one before, and everything. And so Bonnie was great, and she took care of him, and he was thriving until one day, I don't know, he was like 3 months old. He started this horrible, they call it the croup. What an awful sound a baby makes. And they're coughing, this horrible cough. We thought, sure, he was dying, And so back then, doctors had phone numbers, and we actually called the doctor. And the doctor actually answered, shows how long ago it was. And he said, yep, we held the phone. He said, yeah, croup, don't worry. Turn the shower on, get it, the water running, steaming, walk around in the bathroom, close the door with him, let him breathe that in. And he says, bring him in on Monday. I said, Monday? It's Friday night. He might die. He said, he won't die. I said, why? He said, I asked your wife already. Is he still hungry? She said, oh, yeah, he's ravenous. He's very hungry. Eats all he can eat. He said, if they have an appetite, don't worry. Just bring him in on Monday. He said, he'll get better. Hey, that's true spiritually. If you don't have an appetite, if it is like pulling teeth to read this thing, and if reading it is the single most boring thing you can think of, and you only do it because someone paid and you've got to finish out this term, and you're going to do it and just barely make it by, you are exhibiting a lack of hunger. That means you need to go to the hospital. You are desperate. Your croup is serious. It's all about your hunger and thirst for God. Why do believers sometimes feel like not getting into the Word? Or worse, why do Christians sometimes not even feel saved? I was a pastor for 38 years. Do you know what I found out? The number one thing, people make an appointment, they say, I have a question about the Bible, or I have a question about, something, and they get into your office, and as soon as the secretary shuts the door, they lean forward and they say, I said, well, I want to talk to you about your question about prophecy, or, oh, no, they said, that doesn't matter. Then they start usually getting very emotional, and they say, I don't think I'm a Christian. I don't feel like a Christian. I feel horrible and everything. And so I tried, after about the 100th time this happens, over the decades, you want to jump in, but I wait till they get all done with that, and I act, right with them, and I go, and they finally look up and I say, but was there ever a time you thought you were a Christian? Oh, yes. They said, oh, I remember I used to, I was, and they usually give their testimony. I was saved, here and there, and I served the Lord. And I said, but now I don't feel like a Christian. I said, well, the good news is if you ever were a Christian, you still are, because you can't get unchristianed, okay? Then they start listening. And you know what usually you find out? Ephesians 4:30. Don't grieve the Holy Spirit of God. If you do, you will not like this book. Because remember, this book will keep you from sin, but sin will keep you from this book. And you won't have any hunger for it. And also, you will not feel like a Christian.